I'm about to start changing a radiator on this Ram. And remember this thing I pointed out last time? Look at this. So I'm like, oh, it's just time to pull it off. It doesn't matter at this point. Look at this hack. This is the best thing someone could come up with to try to fix this, and silicone everywhere. Okay, so here we go again. I know some people think I'm crazy, but what is up with the clamp situation? Clearly the OEM clamp is right there, and someone removed it to install the screw type. You know, the only time I see okay using a screw style is when you don't have the OEM ones. You can't get them, you lost them, whatever. And to me, the screw style is like last resort. But clearly, someone moved that clamp, left it there, and decided to use the other ones. I don't know if it's easier to some people or what the heck. I'm all finished with this Ram 1500. Got a brand new radiator. You can see this thing is now intact. We got a new overflow tank. The old one was leaking, and we have a new hose. It goes all the way down there. So just finished bleeding the system. It's good to go and get this turd out of here. Here I have a Chrysler 300. It's here for a few things. First thing we're going to start with is the door handle. You can see we have a replacement one right here. This one's actually broken. You can see it still opens, but it's really annoying. So let's go ahead and knock this out first. I have the new door handle installed, and one tip I could give to anyone who's doing this: it doesn't matter what car you're working on, and this is something I learned when I was working in a body shop. Unfortunately, I learned the hard way. Is always test whenever you install a door handle, actuator, latch, doesn't matter what it is. Always test to make sure everything works before you commit to putting this door panel on and closing the door. Because if you forgot to connect something in here and the door is locked, you close it, and now there's no way to open it back up. Sometimes you have to resort to damaging the door panel just to get back in here, and that costs money. It gets really expensive. So what I like to do is go ahead and latch this just to simulate as if the door was actually latched on or closed. See, that's locked right there. And all you have to do is pull the door handle. See it open up right there? So just, you know, start moving things, check it in the open and the lock position. Just make sure everything works. Pretty much all done here. Go ahead and test it. Alright, let's lock it. Unlock it. There you go. Next up, we have a new grill. See this one right here? Boom. Now, I'm not judging, okay? It's their car. They can do whatever the heck they want. But the car has other problems with it, and you know, this. All I'm gonna say is priorities, right? All right. So as you can see, I got most of the bumper off of the car. Don't worry, it's not leaning on the floor. I do have cardboard underneath there. But these screws, because this grill is screwed in with little Phillips screws, and every single one is just rotted to hell. So what I'm doing here is basically, let's see if I can grab one that's not hot. The Phillips is just rounded off, so I'm using the Dremel to cut basically a slot in it, and it heats up the screw real good, and you could come in here with a good flathead screwdriver and extract them. I was hoping at least, you know, a few of them would come out decent, but no, almost every single one I have to do this to it just to get it out. So it's a real pain in the butt. And what sucks, I just noticed, is this bumper's cracked everywhere. I mean, look at this. You know, it's cracked over there, it's cracked over here. What's the point of changing the grill? I don't understand. The bumper is junk. I'm just about done putting the front bumper together, and I remember when the car came in, this was already like this. So someone's already been in here messing around, and it actually came from factory with these plastic rivets, as you can see, and they were just hanging out right there. I had to cut them off. So instead of just leaving it like this and, you know, making our work look crappy, I've actually got a bag here of what I like to call like Christmas tree plugs. And if I could not drop things, they would just go in here, Pop right in, grab another one. Boom. Looks way better, way cleaner. It looks like I gave a crap about the customer's car, because I do. And in the future, if it ever needs to be serviced again, these are very easy to remove. Here goes an original one. You can still see it right here. It's like a plastic rivet, so those are real crappy. I'm gonna leave it intact for now. But yeah, it's the little things, right? And as you can see, I have the new bushings installed for the sway bar. Here goes the old one. Now there is like a stop on the sway bar. You can see what's eating into the old one right here. So if you read the instructions that come with the new bushings, it says that you have to knock that little stop on the sway bar. You have to knock it back, you know, just a little bit to clear the bigger bushings, and that's what I did. And also, apparently these Chrysler 300s have like 3 or 4 different sizes of sway bars, so you have to measure your sway bar before you order. And I did do that to make sure we got the correct sway bar bushings. Everything fits nice and tight, and how it should be. I'm just about done here. So that'll be it for this Chrysler 300. Put the wheels back on it, and that's it. Today I'm working on a Mazda Tribute. We are doing the front, left, and right lower control arms and stabilizer links. Here goes the old parts for the right side of the car. The ball joint is destroyed, and so are the bushings. The wheels on this car was so far tucked out from the bottom that you would swear it was at a stance meeting. So as you can see, I already got this side all set, and I just have to go do the left side of the car. So so far it's going pretty smooth. I haven't ran into any problems, so I'm just gonna go ahead and cross my fingers that the other side goes just as well. The left side of the car went super easy, barely an inconvenience. Here I've got a 08 Ford Escape. Came in on the hook. It's a no crank situation. So this is the starter relay right here. I already pulled it out, and we got power on one side, ground on the other, so there's continuity through the starter solenoid. Alright, we got ground there, and this would be power coming from the ignition switch, but I already tested it, so you're gonna have to spare me that. And we get no power coming here, and this is coming from the ignition switch when you turn the key. But right now I got the key in the run position, and let's go ahead and bypass all of this and start the car. So there's nothing wrong with the actual starter or anything like that. Feels like the key doesn't quite turn all the way to even give the command to the starter. So I think we have a faulty ignition switch, and the owner actually dropped this off when they had the car towed over. He looked at a few YouTube videos and he said there's a common issue, so he brought it just in case I needed it. So it's looking like we're gonna have to go into the steering column, see what's up. It looks like in order to take off the ignition switch, like all this has to come off the steering wheel and all, because it's being held in by this one piece of plastic that's blocking it from just sliding out. Alright, I can see you keyboard warriors just typing away. So you can actually get this part out from here. It's actually pretty easy. Just unplug it, push the 2 tabs, and you can snake it out of here at a certain angle. So I was able to get it out, and I turned it manually, and the car starts. So it's not this. Alright, so I decided to look at some scan data here. As you can see, we are in the run position, and it is showing that we are. But when you try to turn the key to crank position, go over to here. You see it says no for start. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the key, and it never changes. Alright, so I'm done messing with this Ford. It's going to need this whole ignition switch assembly. I think the shaft inside of it is just worn out. There's just too much play inside of here. If you take this out, you can see how much play there is. inside this piece, and it doesn't translate well. Whatever turns on this side, you know, to the end piece that turns on this side to actually turn the switch. So that's gonna be my last call. I'm tired of messing with this, because after pulling the lock cylinder out and inspecting it very closely, it seemed to work fine. So it's gonna need a whole new assembly for the ignition switch. Alright, so we got a brand new module directly from Ford, and I just got it connected here real fast just so we could test things. I'm just gonna go ahead and put the key in it and try to start it. There we go. And we did get a new bolt, because this bolt, you're basically it's gonna shear off once it's torqued to the proper spec. But proof is in the pudding. This is gonna fix the problem and get the car back on the road. So let me finish or start taking all this stuff apart. Alright, so everything is reconnected. The only thing that I'm missing are the lower and upper panel, but all the main components are put back together. And I've already reconnected the battery. Now, one thing I noticed right away is with the key out of the ignition, the steering wheel locks because it already locked on me. With the old assembly installed, you could turn the steering wheel all day without the key in the ignition and it would not lock. And that has to do with this right here. So that's a really good sign that something was wrong with this assembly when the steering wheel would not lock with the key out of it. So now it does work, but let's go ahead and try it. Alright. And there we go. Try it one more time. Alright, so that's it for this one. I just have to finish putting the panels back on it. Just like all my other customers, this car is really a piece of work. The front wheels are just so cambered out. Again, another Stan's car. It needs outer tie rods, stabilizer links, lower control arms. Inside of here you can see the blower motor only works on speed 4. Has a bad resistor, probably a bad blower motor, but usually it's just a resistor in this case. The brake pedal just keeps on sinking. Look at that, forever, all the way to the floor. In order to stop this car, you have to continuously pump it. It's actually really scary. Yeah, the car is just a piece of work. You could just tell no one gave a crap about this car. Zero maintenance on it, and just drive it till the wheels fall off. Car also needs struts, and there's a grinding noise coming from the rear drums. Are we even surprised at this point? Here we have a 2014 Chevy Equinox, and it got dropped off last night because of a limp mode or low power mode, whatever it's called. So this morning I came out, turned it on, and the first thing I noticed is we have a change engine oil soon warning. Alright, so it's something to keep in mind. Looking at the codes here, get this to focus. Intake camshaft position, system performance. Crankshaft position, intake camshaft position, not plausible. And then we got fuel pressure regulator performance and high pressure, blah blah blah, right? So looking at this, the first thing I want to check is the oil. Looking at some data here, it says engine oil level switch, it says it's okay. And then the engine oil pressure sensor is reading 0. Let's try hitting the accelerator pedal, see if we can get it to change. Does not change at all. Alright, so here I got the dipstick. I've already cleaned it off, reinserted it, and let's see how well this is going to pick up. As far as I could see, it's not reading any oil on the dipstick. That little bit you see right at the tip, that's just from like the dipstick dragging on the inside of the tube. But right here is a pretty clean side of the dipstick. You can see it's completely clean. And I'm gonna go ahead and reinsert it for you guys just to prove that I'm not crazy or making this stuff up. Focus. Okay, so again we have more gunk at the tip, and that's from it sliding into the tube. But here was a really good side of the dipstick. There's no oil reading on this thing. So my first thing that we're gonna do with this car is do an oil change. The customer did bring it up. He said, I want to do an oil change, but first let's figure out why it's in low power mode or whatever. Well, let's start with the oil change and then see what happens. Alright, so indeed it says remaining oil life 0%, and look at the mileage. Okay, we're at 86,364 miles. And if we come up to this sticker right here, let's see if this will show up. It says your next oil change is due at 82,673. So they're a few thousand miles past. You know, they put this dummy stuff in cars to make people aware of change of oil, and people still ignore it. It's crazy. Doing an oil change on the Equinox. It's got a new filter. Dipstick is reading completely full. Let's see if this shows up. This is about right here is how much oil I had in here before I started. So this is all that came out the Equinox. That's not even a quart. Well, let's see how it goes from here. Clear the check engine light and keep in touch with the customer. Here I've got a 97 or a 98 Toyota Avalon, and it's here for a side mirror. This is the new one that we just installed. I still have to finish buttoning it up. Here's the old one. You can see how it's in pieces and destroyed. Well, what sucks is that we got the mirror from Rock Auto, and they don't offer the mirror with heated mirrors. They only offer like the standard kind. So her car did have heated mirrors, so obviously the plug is not going to match up. You know, I made sure that she was aware that the plugs may not match up if in case that her car is heated mirrors, and she said she was fine with that. That's old car. She just wants her mirror back. But anyway, it's hard to see inside of here, but we have a pin that's completely missing due to corrosion. Even if we did have the correct mirror, there's a good chance something was not going to work. And one final thing I have to replace while it's here is this passenger door handle. Not passenger, driver's side rear door handle. See, it's broken off. Super inconvenient. So I'm just gonna finish up with the side mirror and then work my way over to this. Alright, so I got this outside door handle installed, and what I don't like is how cheap it feels. There's a clear difference of, you know, a OEM part versus this right here. Just, I mean, it works, right? Doesn't feel as quality, but I mean, well, whatever, it works. Just testing things out and just have to finish putting everything back together. What sucks is on an old car like this is all the plastic is so brittle, so it's like you gotta be really careful. I got things like, you know, cracking on me and little plastic clips like breaking. It just sucks. So right now, temporary fix, JB weld, like little pieces of plastic they cracked, but you know, looking to getting them replaced in the future. On this Toyota Avalon, I'm done with the mirror and the rear door handle. Everything's put back together. While I was here, the owner was like, hey, check my check engine lights so I could get fixed whatever needs to get fixed. So we have EGR codes, there's 2 of them for insufficient flow and excessive flow. So I decided to pop the hood, and I'm looking for the EGR. Like, okay, it's right here, super simple. First thing I notice is that's not connected to the EGR. And you know what? I'm not even gonna blame or talk shit or do anything like that, because I was the last one to work on this car. I took that apart. So the only reasonable explanation is that it was me. I forgot to plug that hose back in. So what I'm going to do now is clear the codes, tell the customer to drive around. If the check engine light comes back, then we'll look into it. I'm back with my neighbor's Chevy Aveo, aka the Banana. And we have new spark plugs, new ignition coil, and a new valve cover gasket. Here goes the old spark plugs. Now these two front screws, which are the easiest to get to, obviously they're right in front. Like, I could have just taken them out with my fingers, that's how loose they were. Conspiracy theory, it's possible she went to one of those quick oil change, or anywhere, I don't know, and someone loosened these bolts to create a leak to get the customer to come back to change the valve cover gasket. Who knows? Maybe it just maybe they got loose over time. I don't know. Definitely a possibility though. I'm not gonna rule that out, especially in my area. Got the valve cover off, as you can see. So I could really get inside of these spark plug tubes and clean up a little bit better. Look at this stuff. It just looks like jelly. That's how thick and nasty it looks. It's burned oil. The underside of the valve cover. I think it's something I noticed. I bump into this and what the heck? Really? Look at that with my finger. I gotta tighten that up. I'm just about done cleaning the surface of the head here. It looks decent. Looks clean enough for me. Now we gotta focus on the valve cover, and these gaskets are just completely brittle. Look at that. Just about done with the valve cover. As you can see, the new gasket is installed. I must have went through like 3 cans of brake parts cleaner on this thing, and it still looks pretty nasty and dirty. But the point is to focus on the groove of where the new gasket is going to sit in, and I did, and I cleaned out those grooves as best as I can, so I think it came out pretty decent. And now it's time to put the valve cover back on the head. All of the main things are put back together, so we should be good to go ahead and start it up now. So let's give it a go. Now when it came in here, it was running really rough, like it just wanted to stall. Let's see how it runs now. Come on. Alright, so it took a little while to start up. I think that's because of the brake parts cleaner I was using to try to clean out the spark plug tubes. And you know, but I did suck any fluid out of there. I didn't let it sit in there too long. I didn't want it to seep into you know, the oil, so I did suck out all the brake parts cleaner. We got the smoke going on. That's the oil that leaked into the cylinders. But it's already running way better than the way it came in. I'm done cleaning up all of my tools. I'm gonna go ahead, clear the check engine light if there is one. Just check it anyway. The engine's running nice and smooth. It sounds really good. And now it's just time to close the hood, take it out for a test drive. Alright, so it's driving as good as it can drive. It's way better. Engine is running smooth. Now it's not perfect, and I know that because I know she has a massive vacuum leak on her air intake tube, you know, like the accordion looking thing. It's actually torn open, and someone attempted to fix it using like aluminum duct tape, and there's even silicone just slapped all around it. So I've told her about this months ago when she first got, maybe over a year ago, and she still does not. It doesn't really affect the car. The car still drives, so why put the money into it? But I'm done with it. It drives way better, and owner could get the car back now. I'm in a Buick. Oh, it's a sabre. Just got dropped off today. The guy said he took it to some guy to get the brakes done, the front brakes, and he said ever since then the brakes just aren't right. And this pedal goes all the way to the floor. Alright, so came in here to check the brake fluid level, and so that was sitting there just like this. I noticed it was super loose. Take it off, and it's either the wrong cap or more likely it's missing that rubber seal that goes right there. So it's not sealing at all. Like, it's just flopping around. That's shitty. But it's completely empty. So I find it hard to believe that all the brake fluid leaked out of a caliper while doing a brake job. The car is older. Maybe we have a broken line somewhere. You know what? It's starting to make sense. I bet there's a broken line in this thing. The brakes went out, and the owner had the front brake pads replaced, thinking it would fix this problem. I've seen it before. I did a quick visual underneath the car. I really don't see anything that's leaking or wet or anything like that. So next step is, maybe I'm wrong. I have been wrong before. The next step is to just put brake fluid in there a little bit and pump the brake pedal, see if we do see a leak at that point, because honestly I don't know how long this thing has been empty. Alright, so I didn't see any brake fluid around the car or the back or anything like that, so I started jacking up the front, and look what I see. He said the brake stopped working after the guy put the brake pads on, and he could hear something clunking around up front as if the guy forgot to tighten something. So we already have a broken stud here. I don't know if the guy broke it off or what's going on, how tight these things are. But let's dig into it and see what's going on. Alright, so as you can see, I haven't made much progress, and that's because these lug nuts are way over tightened. You can see it looks like it's starting to eat up the threads. This one doesn't even want to come off. Watch. What's this? Yep. God, this guy really screwed this car up. I'm gonna have to get the bigger impact gun. That stud's probably gonna end up breaking off. Let's try this one. Look at all the metal that's coming off. That's crazy. Alright, let's get the bigger gun for the last one. Wow. Yep, sure did. It broke off. Okay, so we know the guy got the wheel off because he changed the brake pads. So he was the last one to put them on. He put them on way too tight, and we got 2 broken studs, and each of the threads on the 3 remaining. Actually, this one's broken off too. There's some threads left, but the tip, because it's not as long as the other ones. So we have 3 broke. This thing needs a new wheel bearing. Let's see what's going on here. If I did not show you guys this on camera, you would not believe me. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Wow, I've never seen this before. What the hell? Let's see. I don't know, the back is not chewed up like I expected it to be. So it was just the pads. It was just the pads that wore down. I don't know where all this metal flake came from, but what the hell? Wow. Well, besides that, I found actual leak. It's the hard line. Right off of this line right here. Okay, so I went in the house, took a break, had some food for thought. I was trying to think of how could something like this happen, and it just all makes sense now, okay? So this brake dust was never from metal-on-metal contact between the pads and the rotors. This brake dust is actually from this separation right here. And you're probably asking, well, how did this happen? Well, my only guess is we know that the studs are damaged, right? So let's just assume someone went to put the wheel on, they tightened the lug nuts, but they would not fully seat or clamp down because the threads are so damaged. So that leaves a gap between the rotor, the rim, and even the hub. So what happens to that rotor if it's not completely clamped down? Or it vibrates, right? So that crazy amount of vibration, because there's an air gap between the three items, causes it to separate. It's a lot of stress right there on the edge of the hat, and that's what causes it to break. That's my only guess. Wow, this is never ending. The guy who did this brakes truly screwed up. It's just, look at this, alright? So now the guy dropped off the parts, okay? Dropped off a wheel bearing, a rotor, some new lug nuts, right? And I'm like, okay, let's start taking it apart. Boom. This thing comes out without a problem. Like no resistance at all. I could have taken it out with my finger. Look at this. It's broken. It's snapped off inside of there. So the guy knew this was broken and he just put it back together like that. The only reason why it didn't come up is because when you're driving forward, the calipers naturally want to be pushed in that direction. But as soon as you go to reverse the car and you hit the brakes, this caliper is going to want to rotate upward. Wow. Now, that guy is a true hack, okay? This is what I have to deal with on a daily basis, okay? So at this point, I have to call the customer back and send him back to the store for another caliper, and the bill just keeps getting higher and higher. As you can see, we have a bunch of new parts. We have a new wheel bearing, new lug nuts, new rotor, and a new caliper and bracket. Everything is installed, and it's good enough to put the wheel back on it and move it forward, because it's like halfway sticking out the garage, and I need to be able to close the garage, obviously. And tomorrow I'm going to worry about fixing the broken brake line, and this one will be all set. It's been taking forever because it's a lot of going back and forth of the owner having the wrong parts. He actually told the auto parts store it's an 02 and it's actually an 04. So a lot of time waiting on this job, but I'm just about finished repairing that brake line, and it's actually coming right off of the ABS module, as you can see. So it comes off of the ABS module, comes from down here into this harness, bends up and into the brake hose. Try to get it to look as clean as possible, obviously, always try that. But yeah, not too bad of a job. I kept having issues. This took a lot longer to make this line than it should have, because I could not get my flares right. Basically the end of it, you see that right there? The end of it, look at this one. It kept collapsing. Instead of making a flare, it's collapsing. So I had to do my flare multiple times just to get it to work. It was such a pain. But I don't know what it is. Maybe it's I don't know if the copper tubing doesn't like the cold, or what the heck's going on. I never really had this issue until it started to get cold outside. Anyway, so I'm starting to bleed the brake system, right? And then I noticed there's a leak on this side of the car. So I'm like, what the hell is that now? Come over here. Look at that clamp for the radiator hose. It's not even in the right place. It's not even holding the radiator hose in place. It's completely off. Someone's been in here and they just figured, I guess it was too much of a pain in the butt to get it back on, or they just straight out forgot about it. Alright, so it only took about 15 minutes of my time, and I was able to get the clamp back where it belongs. You could see the witness mark of where it used to sit, and versus it being all the way back there. And it was loose because I was able to twist the hose with my hand, and it started to pour out even more. So that dripping was a result of the clamp not even being in its correct location. But it's all set now, and yep, let's move on. I'm out taking the Buick sabre for a test drive. The brakes feel good, no weird noises or anything like that. So that's gonna be it for this one. I'm gonna have to clear that check engine light because I had the intake air temperature sensor disconnected. But that's it. The owner of that Buick LeSabre just picked up his car. He was really happy with the way it turned out, and he dropped this one off, which is a Pontiac G6. It's his girlfriend's car. They wanted to get the front brake pads done, so they already had the brake pads in the car, but just by pulling it into the garage, I already knew it was going to need a rotor. And sure enough, You can see that's pretty much done for. Here's a pad that was back there. So I already texted him, told him we need a rotor. He said he would drop it off. Nothing that sucks about this car, it has no power steering. This car has electric power steering and it doesn't work, so it is super hard to turn the steering wheel. And it's been like this forever, because I remember like over a year ago it was still like this. So it's not what it's here for. I guess they don't care to get it fixed.